Hey everyone, and welcome to week 5 of our 52-week Excel Masterclass series. This week, we're covering one of the most basic but essential skills every Excel user should know, and that is adding, deleting, hiding, or unhiding any rows and columns. So you'll learn how to do it all with just a few clicks or even faster using keyboard shortcuts to speed up your workflow. Whether you're cleaning up a spreadsheet or reorganizing data, this one's a must watch. So let's jump right in. And as you can see on my screen, I have a spreadsheet, same like the previous examples. We are talking about auto sales report here, and this spreadsheet we're going to be looking at. And I have a scenario that's going to help us in what kind of scenario, in what kind of situations you would need to add or you would have to remove some of the columns or rows here. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, we're going to talk about adding rows and columns. So simply, and most of you guys might already know, and some of you who are beginner to Excel, to add a row in an Excel spreadsheet, what you have to do is, let's say if you want to add a row right between row 7 and row 8. So what you can do is just select row 8. You have to select the row when you look at your pointer and it turns kind of like pointing towards the right and a bold pointer. So what you can do is just right click there, and somewhere around middle you will see this option which says insert. So simply click insert, and that's where you see there is a new row that appears between 7 and 8. So basically with Excel, whenever you have a row selected, and when you insert a row, it's gonna go above the row you have selected. So when we click on, we have selected row number 7, right click, and if I go ahead and do insert, so that's how the row is inserted. Same way, now if we go to columns and you have to insert a column, so same way how we just select the complete row. Now in this case, we have to select the column. And now if I have selected column D, I will do the same as we did on the row. Just hit that right click, and same way you just click insert. And with columns, as you can see, if I have the column selected, and whenever I hit that insert button, what it's going to do is it's going to insert the column towards the left of my selected column. So yeah, keep that in mind. It's always helpful. Sometimes people end up like inserting rows on the either side, and they have to undo and then come back to the previous columns. It's not too much, but again, if you are a pro, if you want to work quick, these are some great things that you can remember. Now, these were the steps that you would follow when you're adding a row or a column in Excel. But to do that, you have to like go through a bunch of clicks. But if you wanted to do this real quick, there are also shortcuts in Excel that can help you add or delete the rows real quick. So same thing, we're going to practice the same thing, adding the row and column again, but we will be using the shortcuts. So when you want to add a row here, so I would just select one row, and on your keyboard you can simply click on Control and plus sign. So that's what we just did. Using this shortcut, you can add as many rows you like. So if I keep one specific row selected, and if I keep on pressing the control and just keep hitting that plus sign, it's going to continue, or it's going to keep on adding the rows as many times as I hit that plus sign. So that's how you can simply like with using the shortcut, and that just avoids you some right clicks and some additional clicks to insert a row. And same thing it goes to with columns as well. If I have a column selected, I can simply go Control and plus. That's how you can add a column. And same way like row, you can add as many columns as you like using this shortcut. Okay, so now deleting the rows or deleting the columns that you already have in your worksheet. So what we're going to practice is we'll simply go ahead and we'll try to delete the exact ones that we just added. So to delete the rows, there are a couple ways. You can delete them one by one. That is, if you select one of the columns, right click and just click on delete. That's going to remove your column. If you select multiple columns at the same time, what would happen is, if you right click and just hit delete, you can delete multiple columns at the same time as well. Same with the rows. If you select like a series of columns, and one good thing as well, like I'm not sure if everyone already knows this, but you can keep holding the control button and you can select as many rows as you like throughout the spreadsheet, and then when you right click and when you delete, you can always delete like random occurrence or random rows. It doesn't matter, all the rows that you want to delete should be all together. It doesn't. So you can simply select as many rows or as many columns you want, and it doesn't matter what the series are. You can just delete them. And now to look at the shortcut, I'm just going to add a couple rows here and a couple columns here. Same thing that goes with deleting. So right now I'm doing Control plus to add the columns. Now let's say I want to remove the columns. So as some of you have already guessed, Control plus, if that adds a column, now I have a lot of columns selected which are blank. I just added. If I click on my keyboard, if I click Control and do minus, that's going to get rid of all the columns that I have selected. So it's straightforward. Control plus is adding the columns, and Control minus shortcut in Excel is basically you are deleting those rows and columns. So that's pretty helpful when you're working on a large spreadsheet, and if you want to just keep saving some time by right clicking on each column or each rows, that is quite helpful. Okay, so the next item I have is how you can hide or unhide some columns or some rows. Now with hiding and unhiding, it's like they're still on your spreadsheet, you're just hiding them that you don't see it. Now the reason I have this spreadsheet for you guys is, if you look at the data or if you look at the headers, now this is just a sales report track of year 2024. This specific spreadsheet shows there was a target for Jan and what was the actual numbers for January, and then same way for target for every month and then the actual number. So the green headers are the actual numbers. So right now we are in 2025. I don't care what the target was. I just want to see what the numbers were for 2024 for each month. So in that case, what I would have to do is, if I want to share this spreadsheet to someone, they would at some point, if they need the data, let's say they want to see what the target was, I can always unhide these ones. So first talk about hiding the columns. So to hide any columns, what I can do is I can select that specific column. I will right click, and somewhere down further you will see where it says hide. So when I click on hide, it's simply going to hide that column. And one quick it's kind of an eye test, but if you want to see if your Excel spreadsheet has some hidden rows or some hidden columns, you can quickly go through the references, the cell references, and you will see column A, column B, and then there is no column C. And if you scroll your cursor, you will see your cursor kind of changes at some point between B and column D. So that's where you will see it's a hidden column, and when you right click on that and click unhide, that's how you can unhide the column again. So again, you can simply hide and unhide the columns by just selecting on like the whole column and right click and click on hide. So in this specific spreadsheet, we have a lot of columns. So how do you quickly get through all these columns? So what you can do is same way, just how we did with the adding and deleting the rows and columns. You can always press down the control key and you can select multiple columns here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just select all the target ones that I have here. So all the target columns are selected. I'll just right click and then I'll do hide, and there we go. So all these columns, all the budget or all the target columns are hidden, and now I just see all the actual columns. What were the actual sales number, those are only visible here. Now to save some time, let's say if you have to unhide all these again, trying to get something done quicker. So let's say when you want to unhide, and as we just saw, when you want to unhide a column, you would go here and then you would right click and go unhide. But this is going to take some time. If you go through all this one by one, this is kind of going to take a while if you have like a huge spreadsheet. So in that case, what you can simply do is, if you select multiple columns, so what we are going to see here is, if you select these 3 columns and if you right click and go unhide, and you can see 2 columns were unhidden altogether. That's because when you select a specific range, you can unhide all those columns that are hidden in that range. So again, I'm just gonna undo this, and we're gonna try and do this in a bigger spectrum. So let's say I select the whole thing, and now if I go and click unhide, there we go. Now you don't have to do one by one unhide columns for all these, and same thing, it works for the rows as well. If I select a couple rows here, and if I go hide these rows, now you will see the same cursor, it changes a little bit when you hover through a hidden row or a column. So simply what you can do is just select the whole spreadsheet and right click and go unhide. So that's how you can unhide multiple columns, or all the columns or all the rows that are hidden in your spreadsheet, and that's kind of maximizing your output or increasing your speed when you're working on something like this. Alright, so I hope that was helpful. Thanks for hanging out for week 5 of the Excel series. If you learned something new today, go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming weeks. Or if you have a favorite shortcut or a question about hiding data or adding columns or removing columns or rows, drop it in comments, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Catch you next week for more Excel magic. Bye now.